Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to talk to you on a very important point at the moment, and this concerns military strategy. And I'm going to, focus on Operation Sindoor and give some comparison in between with how Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi carried out their operations. Indira Gandhi will remain in history as one of the beacons because she broke Pakistan into two. That is a fact. And Pakistan as a rival power to India was finished once for all. The creation of Bangladesh actually hit at the very roots of the Pakistan concept. Similarly, at that time, Madam Gandhi, the way she conducted the operation, it should have been a lesson to Mr. Modi. Coming down now to Rajiv Gandhi, he carried out two operations. And definitely all credit goes to him for those operations. And he carried them out outside India. The first thing he did was the operation in the Maldives. When he authorized the movement of Indian troops through the massive Illusion 76 planes to the Maldives to put down an insurrection there. He did it, and he was a man of action. And then he ordered the Indian army to move into northern Lanka and fight the LTTE, that is Prabhakar and his gang. And the reports we have is that Prabhakar and his gang were thoroughly thrashed, beaten, and the effect was so traumatic on them that they wanted to kill him, and they did after he was no longer the Prime Minister. So, gentlemen, there are two parallels which we have, and then we have the operation launched by Narendra Modi, that is in Operation Sindur. First of all, let's come to the name of the operation, Operation Sindur. Obviously, this name has been given by the Prime Minister. Sindur is a sign of Hindu brides. So, I don't know what was his thinking, but he did it. But it shows one thing in particular, that the entire campaign was not orchestrated by the CDS, but by Mr. Modi himself. Now that cannot be denied. In contrast, when the operation in Bangladesh was to be launched, that is the erstwhile East Pakistan, Madam Gandhi, she had called General Maneckshaw, who was the commander-in-chief of the Indian Army at that time, and asked him, can you mount an operation into East Pakistan now? And he is reported to have told her that he would mount the operation after another 6 months, because that is the time he needed to get all his troops into position and make the plans. Madam Gandhi didn't ask him any other word, anything, and she said, okay, then we will meet after 6 months. And that is precisely what happened. That is, she did not interfere in the military operations, let the Indian Army continue their operations on their own, and nowhere was she doing any diplomacy with the President of Pakistan, General, at that time, General Yahya Khan, and the Indian Army won the day. Similarly, Rahul Gandhi did give the instructions for the insurrection to be put down in the Maldives, as well as the sending of the IPKF to Lanka, but he left the matter in the hands of the local commander to deal with them. And of course, as you know, the Indian Army assaulted Jaffna and captured it. And Prabhakar and all his ilk, ran away. Now here the situation is a little different. Different in the sense that Mr. Modi began to think, perhaps, that's my way of thinking, that he is a man who is omnipotent, a very powerful man, and he is almost of the capability of Donald Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Maybe he had some discussion with the Israelis about how to go about Sindur, the name given by Mr. Modi himself. But it shows one thing, that the army was not consulted for anything. Probably they were just told you launch an operation, and they were also given the parameters. Kitna karna hai, kya karna hai. I mean, you have to go only up to this far and no further. You remember that famous book by Rumer Gordon, in which he has written thus far and no further. So that is what were the instructions given to the army. That is, you will just attack the terrorist camps, and that's all, and come back. And then he did something which was absolutely absurd. And this again, the responsibility is with the Indian Prime Minister. He informed, or rather he instructed that his cabinet members should inform the Pakistan counterpart that, look, we are not going to attack your military installations. We are only going to attack your terrorist camps. And so, don't retaliate, because we do not want escalation. Now, this has gone on record that this vast conversation did take place. And why should it take place? In the annals of warfare, I have not come across any such incident which should have taken place like it did in this particular case. So the army, they made the plan, that is the Air Force, and they were instructed to bomb these camps, but it was not very successful, and I understand a couple of the Indian rifle fighters were shot down. Now that also is a fact that is now proved and was admitted by the Indian CDS in one of his meetings in which he had attended in Singapore. He had said that we did lose some planes, but we learned fast and got back. So that doesn't mean the planes were not lost, they were lost. And I thought this was a mistake and cannot be built on the Indian Armed Forces, but on Mr. Modi, who gave the limitation of the campaign and also passed a message to Pakistan. With the result, when you pass such a message to Pakistan, the Pakis were ready. They were ready for the Indian planes to come, and that is how they lost. I think it's a criminal act. आगे क्या हुआ? Now, Pakistan retaliated the very next day. And there was no Indian reaction to that. Let's accept this fact. That means the matter was closed. And all I think the Indian leadership, political leadership, was looking for was some brownie points. Ki, look, we did this thing, that thing. But the political fallout was very bad. As I've told you, war is an extension of the political game. That is one of the principles of war enunciated by Clausewitz. And the political aim, I presume, was to degrade Pakistan's capability to wage terrorism. Number two, to tell Pakistan that terrorism will not pay. Three, to destroy Pakistan's ability to mount terrorist attacks. I think all these failed. The net result of it was actually, of this campaign, was that India lost face in the world. Now, who won the war? There is no victory in a 4-day battle. It's a skirmish. So whether Pakistan won or India had the upper hand, or somebody shot 6 planes, the other side shot 8 planes, irrelevant. The point is, political aim was not achieved. Number one. Number two, the Indian foreign policy failed at a crucial moment, with the result that what happened was that India lost credibility in the world. In one of my earlier videos, I had also said at that time that Operation Sindur was a misconceived idea, and it would have been better if the Indian Army had been instructed to sanitize the Kashmir Valley, which they have not been able to do. And there's a sad news today, I think, in the Kupwara Valley, where there are counterinsurgency going on. 2 of the special commandos of the Indian Army have either been captured by the terrorists because they are missing. I mean, of course, these are the hazards of this, but this is what happens when you take actions like Operation Sindur and do not concentrate on what is required to be done in Kashmir. So, gentlemen, in contrast, Madam Gandhi allowed the army a free hand, and later on, of course, she committed a blunder. A blunder in the sense she had the Shimla Agreement signed, in which she gave away everything which India had won during the war, including some territory which they had captured. Now, people ask me, will there be war between India and Pakistan? Because Operation Sindoor has only been paused. I can tell you, gentlemen, I think once bitten, twice shy. Modi is not going to launch any more wars on Pakistan or surgical strikes, but that is the end. Because by his action, he has isolated India totally. It's on record that even the Russians, with which Nehru is being, Modi is being very pally, had not condemned Pakistan at all as a terrorist state. And India is running to China now after the tariffs which have been put in by Donald Trump. And China had wholehearted support to Pakistan. They have an integrated air defense system, and the Chinese at every time were giving them real intelligence, and that was one of the reasons that the Rafale fighters were shot down. So, gentlemen, we have to see everything in perspective. I'm giving a comparison between the campaigns launched by Rajiv Gandhi and Indira Gandhi. We can keep condemning these personages that they were part of the Nehru dynasty, they were this thing, that thing. I think there's nothing to be ashamed of that you're part of the Nehru dynasty. That's number one. Was Shah Jahan or Jahangir ashamed of being part of the Mughal dynasty? Raja जो है वो राज करता है, and that is been part of history. It's not only in India. And when the rank, that is the lower rung of society, cannot rule, it is the Raja alone who can lead you forward. Narendra Modi had one of the most excellent chances. The people had a lot of confidence in him. Unfortunately, he did not attend to other urgent problems which were required. That was number one, poverty in India. Number two, health of the nation. Number three, building up India from scratch to face China. This is where Nehru had bungled, and Modi could not rectify that. In addition, I think his entire policy was based on trying to be friends with America. I couldn't understand his fascination for America. America historically has never stood by anybody. At the critical juncture, if you know, the Shah, who was their ally in Iran for 3 decades, was just dumped like a bag of stones in the sea. They did the same thing to General Simo Shankar Sheikh, who was heading the Nationalist Party in Formosa, had been the American ally for 40 years. What happened to him? When Nixon made his visit to Beijing, in the famous news which we have, the week that was in 72, he forgot about General Shankar Sheikh, and he was told, well, quietly, you're going to go and jump to the Pacific Ocean. I'm not concerned about you. So America could not be trusted, can never be trusted, and I wonder how Modi was basing his entire policy on getting a backing from America, and America never backed India at all. And now the policy is a total shambles. Pakistan has taken over the mantle of the leader of the global south. That's what it looks to me. The Arabs have put their eggs in the basket of Pakistan. I'm told Qatar is going to join the defense pact with Pakistan. Saudi Arabia has already done it. And one proviso in that pact is very dangerous for India. It says that an attack on one country will be treated like an attack on the other country. And now there's a secret agreement also going on between Pakistan and Malaysia. I don't think India has got any grouse against Malaysia or we have any problem with them. But then it's the failure of Indian diplomacy. And I couldn't understand what made Mr. Modi run all the way to China. He should have known that when you run to China, then you run to the emperor. Even Nixon went and bowed to Mao Zedong. So if you want to do that, yes. But then you have to give all your claims on Aksai Chin and other areas, give it up and negotiate how much Arunachal Pradesh you can keep with you. China is the real enemy we have, and then we have Pakistan as an enemy. But China, I can tell you, is very, very shrewd. They will not fight a war. No, sir, they're going to fight any war with India. They don't believe in that. They fought a war in 83 and they had their teeth broken. In 83, the Chinese had fought against Vietnam, and the Vietnamese put in a good show. So now China has decided that they're not going to fight any war, but they will fight proxy wars, and Pakistan is their proxy, and Bangladesh also perhaps going to become their proxy. Gentlemen, two things we must recollect or remember always, and go to the writings of the ancient Indian theoreticians like Chanakya and Kautilya, what they have said, that the enemy can never be trusted, and at the same time, to gauge the enemy, you must meet with the enemy and read his mind. I think Modi forgot about all this. He thought it was omnipotent, and he had a lot of photo sessions where he went to Toronto for the meetings. He was laughing and joking. It was shown like he was a man of great importance. But then he did something very silly. He was invited by Donald Trump for lunch and he didn't go. Why didn't he go? That Mr. Modi alone can tell us. This was the time to meet General Munir and, assess him. You're going to meet this man, really assess him, find out what is he. He's not an ogre, he's nothing. In my book, General Munir is the lowest rung of the ladder. And now he's become a field marshal. Well, tomorrow he can become a super field marshal, as immaterial. He hasn't fought any war. A field marshal is a rank given for distinguished service and for having led countries in battles. We had great field marshals like Zhukov and Barnard Montgomery and so many others. So I think he's not in that category at all. Now coming down further to this Operation Sindur, in comparison to the Indian action in IP Kiev, there is one thing which stands out, including the one campaign which we had in, Madam Gandhi had in East Pakistan. That is, there was the intent to fight. That is, the intention was to fight. The Indian army fought for 2 years in northern Lanka, sanitized the entire place before it was withdrawn, not because Rajiv Gandhi said it, but because he lost the election. And Narendra Modi decided, well, that's enough is enough, and he withdrew it. I think in between Chandrasekhar came for some time and he did the same thing. So that is the point to be noted, gentlemen. The intent to fight. And as far as Sindur was concerned, there was no intent to fight. No wonder there was one telephone call which came from the DGM of Pakistan Army and he said, let's have a ceasefire. India agreed for a ceasefire. If you are going to agree for a ceasefire just after 4 days of battle, what the hell? There is no requirement to fight at all. And we should have tried to sanitize the Kashmir Valley, which India failed to do from 89-91 onwards when the agitation started. And mass crowds were moving around in Srinagar shouting Azadi, Azadi. At that time, I think Jagmohan was the governor, and I think he was out of his depth. He should have recommended martial law there. He didn't do that. And if at that time Narendra Rao had imposed martial law in the valley, you wouldn't have had the situation now of even the elite Indian forces commandos being captured by the terrorists or something like that. I mean, it's possible. I'm not making any statement, but this is the news which has come that the two people are missing, or they are dead, or God knows what has happened, and the helicopter search is on for them. So, gentlemen, let's be very clear that everything is not cut and dried. And India doesn't have the tenacity, the capability, the ability to fight like Israel. Let's accept the fact. Otherwise, I don't understand, would the Israelis have called for a ceasefire and accepted it like a cake, cake is given to you? Would they have accepted it? No, sir. After the DGMO rang up and said, let's stop the fighting, they said, okay, stop the fighting. But probably the DGMO was instructed by somebody, and at the background was Donald Trump. Now, Trump is a narcissist. We don't believe in whatever he says. But then he's the rising sun, and everybody says you must worship the rising sun, or at least bow down to the rising sun. And I have no need for Mr. Modi to be very petulant and shakes that America had no hand in the ceasefire. In my personal book, I think they had a big role. They were in touch with both the parties, and they were the ones probably who told Pakistan to call a halt to the fighting, and that is how the DGMO rang up. And to say that America had no role at all and we are omnipotent, well, you're digging your own grave. Millions of Indians have lost their jobs, their livelihood, because of the attitude which the Indian Prime Minister put in, and tariffs came on India. And I tell you, the amount of tariffs which have been put on India, that is 50%, has not been put on any other country in the world. What has Mr. Modi and the BJP got to say about it? It's a very sad thing. As a nationalist, I feel this is not a good thing which has happened. But then it has happened. And Trump is like the bull in a china shop. Who's going to control him? You can only control him by facing him. And you can face him only if you have the industrial infrastructure to build yourself up, build your own army. And that is where India lacks. For that, Modi alone can't be held responsible. It starts from the time of Pandit Nehru. It's a sad occurrence that India contracted 94 engines for the Tejas Mark II, and the net result is that nothing has come and the planes are not flying. The Air Force is reduced to 29 squadrons. Who's responsible for it? I think we can keep pinning the blame on Pandit Nehru again, But one thing is the false propaganda which is going around. Everybody, the government is playing into the hell of the public, and a lot of people are saying India has got a 4 trillion economy. Well, yes, but that is based on your population. Damn it, it's on the population. The per capita GDP of India is about $2,700, and India stands 143 out of a list of 193 nations. And in case the 15%, the rich layer is taken out, like Ambani and Adani, India would probably rank as one of the poorest countries, even poorer than African countries. And has anybody thought, when will India catch up with America? There's a proposal which has been bandied around that India will be a developed country by 2047. I don't see how. The population is rising. India has very little resources. And with a per capita income of just about $2,700 or $2,800, how are you going to catch up with America, which has a per capita income of $70,000 or $80,000? You can calculate yourself how many years it will take. Maybe 200 years. Or maybe never. Because by that time a lot of things would have happened in the world. So gentlemen, the basic problem which I am coming to is the lack of intent, the lack of willpower. and everything is dictated by a psychosis of fear and a feeling that, well, we will win, and probably the biggest aim of the BJP is only to win the Bihar election, and I hope they win. Best of luck to them. But that is the only thing on which is driving them forward. Operation Sindur has been a disaster, no doubt about it. But there is a lot of press, which is favorable press, which is saying we won a great victory, this thing, that thing. Victory is, what is victory? Victory means degrading the enemy. You couldn't do it. And people shouldn't forget, in the major wars which India fought with Pakistan on the Western Front, Lahore is, I think, 15 or 20 miles away from the border. The Indian army could never capture it, because both the armies are of the same capability. They are from the same racial stock, and they have the same inheritance that the British Indian Army and earlier the East India Company Army. Gentlemen, I think I'll close now. I basically want to point out on the one aspect that there should be a lot of realism all around. That's number one. Number two, jingoistic approaches like going and doing Operation Sindur and all that is nothing. And in case somebody does, even at a later stage, launch a military operation, free hand should be given to the Indian General Staff to plan it and get the results. You don't tell them that we'll give the name of the operation and we will call this off the fight after 3 days or 4 days like that. You will fight till you achieve the political aim, which is not happening. That means the intent is not there. Well, gentlemen, I think I will close now. I hope you like my video. Please share it with your friends. And I look forward for further interaction with you. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm looking forward to that. In the meanwhile, I'll say goodbye, God bless. And my last word is Jai Hind. Take care.